Hello, my name is Mo. I have recently finished top 8 at the Disney Lorcana Challenge in Las Vegas. It was my first premiere event, as well as my fourth or fifth constructed event total. My Melee GG is hilarious. Anyways, today I'm going to talk to you about what I chose to play, why I chose to play it, and in what numbers. If anyone has any questions, please go ahead and comment them down below. Anyways, let's get into it. So I played Emerald Amethyst. I really enjoyed this deck last set, and I just really like its toolbox. It can be aggressive, it can be a tempo-based game plan, and it can even form a more controlling base of the board. Let's go into the list. I'm just going to tell everything I played, and then we'll talk about the ratios here in a second. So we have 4 Clarabelles, 3 Cursed Merfolk, and 3 Pegasus as my 1-drops. 2 drops will be 4 Madam Mim Snake, 2 Bonsai, 2 Sir Hiss, 4 Ursula Deceiver, 3 drops, 4 Madam Mim Fox, 3 Merlin Crabs, 1 Big Clarabelle, 2 Kit Cloud Kicker, 3 Lyle Tiberius Rourke, and 2 Ursula Deceiver of all. 4 drops, 4 goats, 3 rabbits. Not a typo, 3 rabbits. Getting to the bigger cards here, I chose to play 2 Elsa the Fifth Spirit, 3 Ursula Sea Witch Queen, and 3 Clarabelle Light on Her Hooves. 10 songs, 2 Sudden Chill, 4 Friends on the Other Side, 2 Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo, and 2 You're Welcome. So a very character heavy deck, in case you can't tell, and that was pretty, just that math by itself was pretty thoughtful. I had some struggles with really aggressive Steel Song going into this tournament. Seeing like 3 daisies by turn 2 would just, that takes a lot of decks off guard. But if you really start resolving getting those daisy triggers and they have just a good chance to hit your hand, it ends up working out. All right, let's talk about the 1-drops. We have the 4 Little Clarabelle, 3 Merfolk, and 3 Pegasus. I wanted a good mix against a variety of different decks. The Clarabelle, mostly for the Ruby Sapphire matchup or the Sapphire Steel, which I did not play at all this event. But just being a target for the Shift Clarabelle is huge in certain matchups. It's just a major come from behind mechanic, and it's a great thing to look for whenever you're on the play, just in general. The Cursed Merfolk and Pegasus, both are pretty good into different matchups. A lot of steel moved away from mass removal, and so Pegasus can get a lot of work done just by questing and saying, hey, you're going to have to use one of your 3 costs to get it off the board most of the time. Not always, but... and then the Merfolk is just one of my favorite Emerald cards. I think it's just an overall amazing card. Very good against Ruby Sapphire, and just solid against other decks. If Ruby Amethyst is going to have to brawl it, that's fantastic for you. The decks you don't want to see this against are obviously Steel Song, but I don't think it's as bad against Steel Song as people say. If you see the Cinderella turn 1, you just keep it in hand, and then as the game progresses, this becomes more and more effective as you control their hand, which we'll talk about here in just a second. My 2-drops, the 4 Snake is pretty self-explanatory with the bounce package. 2 Bonsai, 2 Sir Hiss split. I wanted a really aggressive package against different decks, and I think this did the trick. Both cards are fantastic against Ruby Sapphire. Ruby Sapphire has to put out some serious just resources to deal with either of these cards. They don't have an easy way. I guess Sir Hiss can be answered by trading their baby Sisu into it, the 1/1 3 uninkable. But if that's happening, it's going to slow the shift down, and if they're slowing the shift down, I have that extra time to take over the game. And then Bonsai is just super solid against that deck. The 2 quest every turn just hits so hard, and they can't really answer it until, I guess, turn 3. They could put down a Maui, but that also slows down their ramp, and I don't mind them Mauiing my Bonsai. Ursula Deceiver, probably the best card in Emerald right now. You know, I think this deck is one of the best decks to abuse her. And she was a huge point of why I picked to play this deck. You play her, you bounce her. Steel Song, she solo controls that matchup. You look at their hand, you identify the nearest threat, and then you bounce her and you take the next threat. Obviously, keeping a whole new world out of their game plan is the goal, but sometimes you need to hit a strength or you need to hit a Storm Rage on before, if they can't do their early whole new world play. 4 foxes, nothing crazy. 3 crabs. I was on 2 for the longest time, and I needed an answer into a lot of things. It really helps the Steel Song matchup tremendously. It makes almost anything able to handle their Robin Hood, which is very strong against this deck. I know a lot of Steel Song move away from Robin Hood, but I still think he's excellent. And the crab just helps just take that down. And with the bounce package and some other little flavor cards I play in here, he really helps out, especially with getting resist targets out too, because you can just surprise them. The one of Clarabelle is a little bit odd. I liked her because I needed another 3-drop. I needed a 3-drop that could just be generically good. I could make good. If you're on the play, you can obviously get quite a bit out of her effect against almost every deck out there, besides maybe Ruby Sapphire, but you're probably just going to play her as a Maleficent that you can shift on to later. And then if you're on the draw, she allows you to be a little bit more aggressive with your smaller resources, your Merfolk and your Pegasus. You can throw a couple extra ones of those out there early on. So say turn 1, you play a 1-drop, turn 2, you play 2 1-drops, and then turn 3, a lot of times you can play her and be able to get the draw. Kick Cloud Kicker. 2, the one thing that I would consider, there's 2 things I consider changing about this deck, and I'll talk about them later, but I do think I probably should have upped him to 3. Fantastic in the matchups he's good in. Ruby Sapphire, is easy ink, but against almost every other deck, there is a important play to come back from with him. Bouncing Diablos was big. Bouncing Flynn Rider, the Charming Rogue, is always super nice, just to delay Ruby Amethyst just by a little bit, because that deck's so slow to gain lore without him. Rourke was fantastic. There were so many games where my opponent got to 16-17 right off the go, and I was able to come back into the game through creative use of this card. He's wonderful, and bouncing him is super strong. A theme of my deck is almost every card has a functionable use while bounced. Ursula Deceiver of all. I chose to play her and a song package that we'll talk on later. She's a little odd for most contemporary Emerald Amethyst lists, but I really needed some extra strength on the draw, as well as a little bit of magic to help come out on top in some games. We'll get there when we get to the songs, though. For Merlin Goat, you don't really need to talk about this, but the 3 Rabbit is something that was people were pretty critical about, but I still feel confident in choosing that for this event. Going in, I struggled. With my Steel Song matchup, and I was trying my hardest to patch it. And what I noticed about Rabbit was there wasn't a time I just loved playing him. Because if I play him and then they whole new world, I, lost the card there. Sometimes they would storm, or, they would Strength of a Raging Fire him, storm, or double sing it, and then whole new world me. And I just didn't feel like... I felt like if I played him and I ever played against the aggressive version of Steel Song, I would need just the stronger body. I would need those extra stats. So I felt 3 was fine. It's about the only matchup you don't want to see multiples of it in your hand, and I was really just trying to come down on the uninkables. I ended up on 13 uninkables altogether. 2, Elsa the Fifth Spirit. She's fantastic when with Crab. You can bounce her to re-exert things in the late game. She answers Diablos. Just a fantastic card. A little low statted, but it's not like, you know, she should either be getting you immediate use, or you just don't play her in the matchup she's not that good against. But really, I don't think there was a single matchup that I didn't get some use out of this card this weekend. Fantastic. I don't know if I would go up any higher. I don't like to see her in multiples. She's pretty hefty in the cost. 3 and 3. So 3 Ursula Sea Witch Queen, and 3 Clarabelle Light on her hooves. Both of these cards are fantastic against different matchups. Ursula really shines against anything steel related. And just a lot of the song decks shines against Lemon Lime. If you reach the point where you can stick this against a deck without red removal, just a huge body with that exert effect and the pressure of the 3 quester is massive. Clarabelle is good in the different matchups. She really shines in Ruby Sapphire to help you pick up after they've managed to draw so many cards with Hiram. She's also good into Steel Song if it allows you to play a little bit more aggressive with your resources. And fantastic into the Emerald Steel deck that really took off this weekend. So, the Clarabelle could be a 4 of. I thought 3 was fine. I really tried not to go late game too much. I tried to avoid it when I could. The song package here. Friends is pretty obvious, and then the other 3 could be a little spicy. You're welcome. You really just need an answer to certain targets. Cinderella Stout-Hearted being one. Taking out a Tamatoa whenever they put you on Better Have It is always wonderful. You know, even singing it on your own, or having your rabbit sing it, or singing it on your own rabbit and goat. My top 64 game, no, top 32 was decided by singing it on my own goat. Was nice. The sudden chills were included because I thought I needed more value out of my Ursula Deceiver of All, and I needed a game plan for a best of 2 format. So a best of 2 format, you roll the dice, whoever wins the dice roll gets to choose who's going first game 1, and then whoever does not go first game 1 goes first game 2. So I wanted a game plan assuming I needed to win going second the majority of the day. So there's not many decks out there that can handle the Ursula Sudden Chill combo. A lot of, and the things that answer Ursula, like Brawl, like Ice Block into Baby Sisu, will typically eat one of these threats earlier, and then you can bring her out and get the double discard. And a lot of times it can just be a game plan to just put your opponent on top decking the entire game. I thought this strategy worked out very well for me. I know a lot of Emerald Amethyst choose to not go this route. And then finally, the Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo. Okay, so let's talk about the downsides of this card first. Obviously, it's uninkable, and it's kind of hefty cost. But then once you get past that and start just really looking at what this card does for the deck, it is incredibly powerful. So the big play is Ursula Goat. You play Goat, you gain 1 lore. Ursula sings the Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo, bounce Goat, play Goat, bounce Goat, play Goat, and you can burst for 5. There were a couple games that just took my opponent off guard, and I think that's important going into a tournament like this. Like, people have seen this play before, but it wasn't on anyone's radar that I hit with it. And a lot of times, even just bouncing a Goat just to get just playing it as a singable Gathering Knowledge and Wisdom, I think is that card. The Gain 2 lore was fantastic. Rabbit can sing it, and you draw 2, which is wonderful. Basically, almost anyone that can sing it has some value in it. I took out a, what was it? I took out a resist steel target. It was the Tiana, actually, with double buffing with Merlin Crab. I sang it with Merlin Crab, buff, and was able to one-shot the Tiana through the resist. And wait, no, it wasn't Tiana. It was the, I think it was Cinder. It was Cindy. There we go. But yeah, you can, get an extra draw with Clarabelle sometimes. Lyle can Reckless more things. Kit can bounce more things. We'll talk about the matchups here later on, but in top 16, bouncing my Kit back to hand and keeping my opponent's Ursula Deceiver of all off board, fantastic. Oh, and bouncing Ursula Deceiver against some matchups is huge. But yeah, that's the list. 13 Uninkables. I chose to go to 62 cards with a little bit of math, and just I wanted to make the 13 Uninkables less heavy on me in the long run, and I feel like it worked out. It worked out really well. Let's talk a little bit about mulligans, and then I'll go off into my matchups here in a minute. But general, if I'm blind mulliganing, I want to see I kind of just want to aim for a decent curve. The Clarabelle shift line is fantastic. Mulliganing for your Ursula Deceiver is generally just a good play in this meta, especially after this weekend, really. But keeping Steel Song in check, if you're on the play, knocking one jump aheads out of your opponent's hand is fantastic. And even if you're on the draw, a lot of times Ruby Sapphire will want to go Tipo, then sing one jump on the next turn, so you can actually Ursula into their Tipo and get their one jump out of hand and start, being able to really make them focus on their resources and their inking without getting those free ink from the one jumps. But I would typically go for just a strong curve. The risky thing I did the weekend that worked out for me, but I don't know I would advise, is I would keep Merfolk blind, because it could be very strong, and even against the matchups it's bad in. So say I'm up against Steel Song, if I don't see Cinderella, it's fine to come out on turn 1. And if I do see Cinderella, I hold it, I answer their resources, I play the long game. I play the Ursula after they search with the Aerial. I don't really feel too pressured to play the Ursula unless I have a bounce earlier than that. And I can just eventually, at some point in the game, after I establish control of their hand and eventually the board, I can just lay out like 3 1-drop Merfolks or, 3 whatever, and be able to use that to put a huge amount of pressure. Merfolk is just as strong as a late game card as it is an early game card. And a lot of decks, Ruby Amethyst has to either attack into it and give up a card. I played it into Chernobog followers all weekend, and the interesting thing about that card is if they spend a turn attacking and discarding, that's time away from them getting their draw engine on, and then a lot of times I could answer it back with something I played. But I would keep Merfolk, and other than that, I would just kind of look for a curve, and especially the Ursula Deceiver. Into particular matchups, Ruby Sapphire, all of the 1-drops have some validity, but the thing you have to understand is Clarabelle is not a 1-drop in that matchup, it is a 3-drop. You can do some stuff like Clarabelle, bounce it with Snake, or Clarabelle quest, bounce it with Snake, and then play it again on turn 3. It adds a little bit more pressure if you didn't get a 1-drop, but she is huge in that matchup. You have to keep those items off the board, and in the late game, being able to get the dime. I had so many opponents not respect her, and they would play their dime to threaten me in to a game position in the next turn or two, and I would just play her and take out their dime. It's fantastic. And then Pegasus is just really hard for a lot of decks to answer. Like, a lot of decks it trades upwards in ink a lot of times, and that's good. Baby Sisu eats these all day long, and that's a little scary, but I still kept it into Ruby Sapphire most of the time. Bonsai and Sir Hiss are fantastic into Ruby Sapphire. Ursula Deceiver, I would usually keep one. I wouldn't keep multiples as I do in other matchups. And yeah, I would Steel Song. So if you're playing into Steel Song, you really need to find this card at all costs. I know it's been said time and time again, but this is how you win that matchup. You get this card, you bounce it, you play it, you bounce it, you play it, and it makes them have to do really silly things to get it off the field or get it out of the hand. And if you get more than one, the matchup's pretty much over. Into Steel Song, I would even keep the shift target, because it's such just a game breaker at a certain point. They have a very hard time dealing with the big Ursula, especially after they got hit with a Deceiver or two before that. Ruby Amethyst. The evasives, I think, go really hard against Ruby Amethyst. You basically want to... It's a favored matchup, even though I think I went 1-1 on it in the weekend. It's a favored matchup, but you really have to learn how to get the max value out of your cards, because a good Ruby Amethyst player is going to nickel and dime you to death. So you just have to hit them back with that. Like I said, Cursed Merfolk's probably a keep. The two evasives are very strong in that matchup. Bonsai can keep their Flynn from questing in a lot of situations, which is nice. Cloud Kicker is good. Get that Flynn off the board. The bounce targets are good for controlling it. But honestly, and against Ruby Amethyst, I just look for a solid curve and just play it. The Ursula gets a lot of value here. You snipe friends on the other side out of their hand, and in the late game you get the be prepared, because that's the one side where this matchup turns, is in once they hit that 7 ink threshold, 6-7, where they can start playing these powerful uninkable cards that they've been holding. But if they're holding powerful uninkable cards against you and you're able to take bits and pieces out of their hand, it's very easy to turn this game on a head. What else? Oh, the Emerald Steel deck. The Emerald Steel deck wasn't really on my radar for this weekend, but I knew about it, and it plays in a lot of ways pretty similar to the discard decks we've seen in the past. I went 1-1 on that matchup in the weekend, both matches in Top Cut. And the things that I learned is you need to kind of not go too aggressive early on, and you need to control and just play to your deck's strengths. It can be really scary, but stuff like Cloud Kicker can keep their Ursulas off the board to keep you from, because they typically will want to drop Ursula on 3 and then Prince John on 4 and then hit you with the Sudden Chill or anything there. So keeping that off the board is fantastic. Most of their builds aren't the fastest to gain lore. They'll be like a very slow game, and then they'll hit you for 10 all of a sudden with 5/2 questers. But from what I've noticed, a lot of times you can just keep their things off the board, keep their songs out of their hand. You really want to see this Ursula Deceiver. It's fantastic. And the biggest trap of this matchup is you don't want to lay into too many uninkables. Rabbit could be a keep, but Lyle you want for the late game. You don't want to see him early. Merfolk is fine. It's fine. They usually will have the song to answer it, and you got to tell yourself, is it worth it trading my Merfolk for a Storm? Interesting thoughts there. Both The whole Clarabelle line is incredibly strong into this deck. They don't have a lot of ways to easily answer it without the Ursula Deceiver, and it allows you to patch up your hand and punish them for those Prince John draws. Yeah, it's a back and forth matchup, and a lot of it depends on how either you or them draw. Their deck is maybe slightly more prone to bricking than this one, but that's just because we play purple cards. But yeah, definitely tough matchup. And I think that's all I played this weekend. Yeah. All right, let's go. If anyone has any questions or anything about mulligans, let me know. Also, this video is sponsored by no one. That's right, I'm doing this for fun. So if you like it, I guess subscribe, like, that'd be cool. Whatever. Okay, let's talk about my games. My tournament report. Round 1, Ruby Sapphire. I was able to take it in a 2-0. I lost the dice roll, which is a pretty common occurrence throughout this whole day. My first opponent was very kind. He let me know he was an L3 judge in Magic the Gathering, which I had no idea what that meant until I got back to the hotel room, and I'm like, oh, wow. And we talked about his time and adventures playing Magic and how he transitioned to this game. Very fun opponent. Had a good time. Round 2, Aggro Steel Song. This one was actually on stream. I think we caught the game 2 on stream. Shout out to Crystal. This was a super fun game, I say. She put me on better habits so many times. I was able to push back with Lyle in game 1 from when she got to 16 or 17 lore. I was able to push back with Lyle and sneak the game away. My game plan was engineered towards Steel Song going into this weekend because I thought it would be the strongest deck. And so I had a lot of advantages in that matchup. I don't know how many songs she ended up playing. I had the Ursulas. I was looking for the Whole New Worlds because I know the aggro version of this deck loves it. I know she was on the Queen, but I got little value out of my Ursulas going through this. I think I hit one song out of 3 of them played. Whatever, you got to do what you got to do. I was able to come out on top, and I just want to say thank you to this opponent in particular for going on feature match with me. She was very nervous, and I really wanted to do it, and she was like, yeah, we'll go. And I'm like, yes, thank you. Round 3, Ruby Amethyst. Dice roll lost. This is a matchup that I should be eating on, and I went 0-2. This was a little bit of a confidence breaker match. My opponent was great, by the way. Super fun guy. He checked in with me throughout the rest of the weekend. He actually, I think, just missed his Let It Go on the bubble, but I'm not positive. But I just got kind of smoked. I played to my game plan, but I always felt like he had more cards, and I wasn't able to see all my rabbits, which comes with the downside of running 3. And you prepare for that. But yeah, GG. Round 4, I got the Vengeance run back against another Ruby Amethyst player. A very kind player out of Seattle. I wish you luck going to the challenge in Seattle if you see this, but won the dice roll. I said, hey, my cards are very strong, and I'm going to win this game if I keep continuously having more cards in hand. I think on game 2, I got the friends on the other side out of their hand and was able to get them on 0 cards at some point. And when Ruby Amethyst is top decking against another deck playing Amethyst, it just ain't pretty. So was able to get that one pretty soundly. Round 5, I don't have a lot of memory of. Steel Song, and just played to the game plan. I don't recall too much about a lot of this matchup, but yeah, keep a Whole New World out of their hand, keep their other songs down, just keep bouncing, and then keep control of the board. I didn't see a Daisy deck. I don't know if they were on it, but Daisy obviously exerts a lot of pressure, but that comes with the downside of, hey, I'm giving my opponent all these free cards. And when you're playing 52 characters, sometimes that comes up. Round 6, Ruby Sapphire. I lost the dice roll again, and this opponent let me go first, which is something I noticed a couple Ruby Sapphires players doing, at least in the best of 2 portion of the event. But yeah, it was a back and forth grindy 2 games. This was a younger man that I played against, and he was super fun. We got deck checked, and we just played rock, paper, scissors the entire time, and we're like, oh, I lost. Okay, there you go. There's the victory. Enjoy. But we played it out once we eventually got our decks back, and just a very kind opponent, and it was just a fun, laugh-filled, session here, and we both still had pretty high hopes at this point, so... But yeah, let me go first. I stuck to my Mulligan strategy, and I had a very aggressive lead and was able to take over the game. I think I ended up holding the Ursula Deceiver because I had so much 2 quests, holding it and hitting the Be Prepared at a certain point just to seal the game. Round 7, I lost the dice roll again. This opponent let me lead. Shout out to this opponent, very kind. They won a Mickey, so very good player, obviously. But they were checking in with me throughout my entire adventures in this, and but yeah, lost the dice roll, and it was just ugly. I remember at one point I was getting out-quested by Ruby Sapphire just from little Sisus. I know this player played the 7-drop Hades, the one that puts things into your inkwell. And I just wasn't able to hit my Amethyst card draw in a meaningful way, and I couldn't handle I couldn't get the Hiram off the field, and I just remember looking up, and I'm like, that's 13 cards in your hand, and I have 2. I tried to where there's a goat, there's a way to win, but it didn't work out for me. That's all right. So here's where the nerves really started to hit. 2 losses ain't great, but luckily I have a bunch of 2-0s, so realistically I need to find a 2-0 and not drop the other game 0-2. This opponent was from Quebec, just a lovely player. They got top 64 in Toronto, very, very good player, and they had a fun way of doing their ink. They were on Ruby Sapphire, so of course they had so much ink, but yeah, I just stuck to the strengths of my deck. I got lucky on my first game, and I ended up blind into Ruby Sapphire having something like 2 Merfolk and Bonsai, and it's very hard to come back from, especially being on the draw like they were. But yeah, just a kind opponent. They checked in with me in day 2, and we just had a good time talking. I learned a little bit about, Canada. It was good. It was fun. So here, I thought we were in. I thought we were set. We draw. We're at 45 points. It's guaranteed. Let's go, baby. My opponent comes to the table. We shake hands and say congrats on day 2. I got 62nd, and he got 63rd. Yeah, I was very close. There were quite a few 6-2 ones that did not make it on, and I think 5 or 6. I don't know. Y'all can look at the standings. And I didn't know how close it was to just not going on, but I'm glad we both made it. I obviously had good tiebreakers. I think 3 of the people I played, counting this opponent, made top 64, so it helped me sneak in. It was a crazy top cut. I wasn't even nervous about it until I saw it. I'm like, uh-oh. I almost missed that. Go home. I got caught in a Sublime concert in between nights. We were walking to food and to meet our friends, and we just end up in an ocean of people, and we're like, how do we get out? And they just seal in behind us, and I'm like, when did I get at a concert? What is happening? It was wild the night before. I thought I was going to sleep super well because I was exhausted, but then I get to bed and I close my eyes and then I go, what do I do? We got the top 64 deck lists were released the night before, and I saw what my opponent was on. Ruby Sapphire, which Going into this weekend, a lot of Emerald Amethyst put it as either a 50-50 or something closer to like a 55-45 in favor of Ruby Sapphire, especially depending on who's going to be on the draw versus the play. I have the best practice partner in the world. My fiance Mandy loves playing Sapphire decks, and she's been on Ruby Sapphire for a minute, so I was very well practiced going into this. So I felt fairly confident. I was going against a deck I knew how. Get there, my opponent was from the Forbidden Mountain team. Shout out their YouTube channel. He was very kind to me, and I could obviously tell this man has been here before. He knows what he's doing. Yeah, he's had a bit of success from what I've learned after, but we play it out, and my nerves are getting to me. Game 1, I brick, and I don't see a 1 or a 2 drop, and I skip against Popsicle into Tipo, into One Jump and Hiram, and I was just like, oh, I'm cooked. I go 0-1. I am getting out-quested by his Sisus in the early game before he even cares about dropping his late game stuff. I think I hit maybe like 5 or 6 lore by the end of the game just by trying to dance goats. So here, being down 0-1 against a very, very good player, I had to take a deep breath. I kept a picture of my daughter and my fiance with me right by my side all weekend. And I just look at them and I realize what I'm doing this for and that I've got to lock in. I got to focus. So coming back, game 2, I look at my hand. There's no 1 drops. It's not good. I ink pass. Then the game ends up getting a little bit, not on the grindy side, but I'm able to do my best to keep anything in control. And eventually I stick an Ursula Deceiver on the field, and I see a choice of 3 songs, 1 Jump Ahead and 2 Be Prepareds. And those 2 B preps are absolutely dead in his hand at this point. I take the 1 jump, and then I just start nickel and diming him with small questers, evasives that he can't handle normally. And eventually it gets to the point where he has to play. I bounce my Ursula back to hand. He has to play 1 of the 2 Be Prepareds. And then I play Ursula, take the other Be Prepared, and then just throw up my entire hand on the board. He didn't have enough ink to hard play his Sisu, and I was able to take it from there. And then game 3, I was able to see my aggro, and there was just a certain point in the game where even though he's getting his draws, his deck's doing what it's supposed to do, I'm very confident. I'm like, I'm going to win this. I'm going to take this. I remember singing, playing my goat, singing Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo on it twice, 2 turns, to just put the pressure on and not allow him to get to the late game he really wanted. Shout out to this opponent for being so nice to me. I was obviously new and a little nervous to be in the top cut. Top 32. I rolled into Ruby Sapphire again. Did not think it was a favorable matchup going into this weekend, but hey, here we are. We've lost to 1 all weekend. Another incredibly kind opponent. Shout out to Shady Peach on YouTube. He does unboxing content and was just absolutely a delight to play against. Knowing what he's on, he was playing the smaller Sisu package, which is the scarier version of the deck for me to deal with. The ones that just play the big Sisu and the Be Prepareds are a lot easier for me to handle, but the 3 cost uninkable 1/1 Sisu puts in a lot of work. But I was able to see my aggro and just take both of these games very cleanly. My opponent played very well. There was one point where he had a chance to push up to 17, and he was drawing. He was singing How Far I'll Go. I think he had like 6 or 7 cards checked to see one of his Be Prepareds remaining, and he didn't get it, thankfully for me, and I was able to take this in a 2-0. Moved on to top 16. Emerald Steel. Oh, I forgot to mention, I'm on the draw all day. I'm 62nd place, so there's very little chance of me being able to be on the play. Emerald Steel. Did not know a whole lot about this deck going in. Was very, very nervous about this matchup. I knew my opponent was on a more aggressive build than a lot, but I still saw all those cards I was scared of. And but the things I didn't see in his list, and I don't think any of the Emerald Steel list played, was A Whole New World and Grab Your Swords. So I knew if I could establish a wide board, it would be very hard for him to overcome. Game 1 starts off terribly. I'm discarded down. He's drawing cards with his Prince Johns. There's one point where he quests a 16, and he's representing 11 lore on board. He has 2 Prince Johns, Flynn Rider, Curse Merfolk, another Flynn, and a 1 quester. It was Baby Diablo. And I had a couple on my board, and I had to use my Elsa in hand to just navigate this as best as I could. Discard my entire hand out, take out his Prince Johns. He quested with them because why wouldn't you? You push up to 16, you're representing 11 against Emerald Amethyst. What are they going to do? I was able to pull a rabbit out of my hat, a miracle, and clear the board. Get the Johns off board before I discard, so that limits his hand size, and he's at 16, and I had to leave 3 lore on the board. 3 lore had to stay on the board, but I'm like, okay, we can come back. Instead of choosing to quest to go to 19, we were both top decking. He goes into answering my board, and I was able to swing mine back and then take over the game with a little help from Lyle Tiberius Rourke. And yeah, clutch that one, being down 16-0, playing for a Mickey. And then the next game, he gets to lead off again, and he does whatever, plays. He doesn't see the Diablo shift this game, which was fantastic for me. 3 turns in a row. He plays Ursula Deceiver of All. In 3 turns, I find some way to kick Cloud Kicker that card right back in his hand. And eventually he gives up on that strategy, but I knew, hey, I've got a little bit of board presence. I've got this going on. I cannot let this Deceiver sing my hand down. I cannot let her answer my board in just 1 card. So I just kept bouncing her. One of the judges talked to me after, and he's like, that was funny. And I'm like, oh. But no, this shout out to this opponent. Shook my hand. Absolutely wonderful. Wonderful guy. Super gracious. Happy with everyone I played all day. In between top 16 and top 8 was quite a long break. We were playing 3rd. So we had to wait for the other games to get finished. And this, with how early I finished the top 16 match and the breaks in there, we basically, my opponent and myself sat on ice for about 2 hours just thinking it over. Shout out to this opponent. Is a former Yu-Gi-Oh player like myself, so we're both living the high life, living in Lorcana land now. Played Emerald Steel. Played the same list as the winner Zan. It was a good list. Game 1, I remember being very back and forth, and it ended up on a point where he discarded me down and started drawing with his Prince Johns, and I turbo into a GOAT game plan, and I think it finished somewhere around his 20 to my 16 or 17. So it was 1 or 2 turns and a couple more bounces away, but I saw, hey, there's no way I'm getting back into this with as many cards as he's got. I've got to play to the only way I can win. And then game 2, I decided my deck was just tired. I look at my opening hand and I see no 1 drops and no 2 drops. And I was on the play and I'm like, uh-oh. I ink pass. Oh, I should elaborate. I did see a 2 drop. It was 3 snakes. I kept 1 snake and 1 Cloud Kicker in my opening hand. And I ended up mulliganing into 2 more snakes, and I had to ink pass, and suddenly I was staring down a field of a Diablo shifted on a baby Diablo, a Diablo shifted on a morph, and Ursula Deceiver coming down, and at that point I was just like, it's over. I told my opponent, I'm like, in that moment, I'm like, you go on and you better take this, you win this. But no, he unfortunately did not take it. But no. Overall thoughts on the weekend, it was fantastic. Had a great time. It's my first challenge. My fiance and I went there on our anniversary. It was our first time leaving our 1-year-old daughter. It was a long weekend in Vegas, but just want to shout out all my friends that were there rooting me on, everyone who treated us kindly during the event, all the new friends we made during this event, Julio and Lindsay, shout out to you guys. All my friends from the hometown crew. But the event runners, Pro Play Games, everyone judging, you guys did fantastic. Somewhere around 2,000 people is not easy to wrangle, especially in a city like Las Vegas, and you made it seem smooth as butter. And last couple shout outs will be to my brother River and my lovely fiance Mandy for being the best practice partners in the world. You look at my Melee GG and it's just like locals, win a box, Lorcana challenge. I spend most of my time playing at home in paper, so it was really interesting. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. If anyone has any questions or wants to see any more Lorcana content out of me, let me know down below. That'd be cool. Otherwise, hey, peace out, and you guys have a good weekend, wherever you're at. Bye.